Hey there, everyone. I'm meteorologist Chris Mulkey, and if you're watching from Charlotte, it is really rocking out there. We have a severe thunderstorm warning directly over Uptown and a good chunk of Mecklenburg County. Here's what's happening. This is behind me. You're seeing a lot of positive lightning strikes here. Those are those big thunder movers that almost shake the house. And we've been hearing it outside of our station. Also, rain rates exceeding about 1 to 2 inches per hour in some of these spots. But right now, the leading edge of this is actively crossing Uptown. We've been watching our view camera. It is shaking all over the place. A lot of rain coming down. Not great to be outside. So this is moving off towards the east at about 15 miles per hour. And the general pace of these storms has been anywhere from about 15 to 20, so just keep that in mind. So let's measure this out. What is next? Who is next going to get this? So here's the leading edge that you're seeing behind me. This warning goes until 3:30, and that means that areas like Mint Hill are going to be seeing this by about 3:13, with still about 15 minutes left of this warning. It could be expired a little bit earlier. If it stays its strength and continues its path, then a new warning would be pushed on for the next county. Other times we have Idlewild right around 2:57, Matthews at 3:01, and then Hemby Bridge about 3:15. So the biggest threats with this is going to be some of those damaging winds. We haven't seen any empirical evidence that any of these storms thus far have produced any damaging winds, but there's been some downed tree limbs that have been reported in York County, and that's not even having to do with this system. So let's look at the grand scheme of this storm system. There's a lot going on here. This is a broken line, a prefrontal boundary that's moving through. You have rain right around Salisbury, but the big event, you can even see from here. All this is lightning, so our lightning count is just absolutely off the charts. I can actually bring that up as well. So the amount of lightning that's happening with this, we have 131 strikes just on the western side of the Carolinas. So we're going to take some questions now. Lightning just hit a tree here bad is what Kristen Nicole said. So I think that's one of the more dangerous things about that. Yeah, you're going to have a chance for even golf ball, or excuse me, quarter-size hail. It's not going to be that large. We've had some signs that maybe some peat and nickel-size hail certainly could happen from a few of these, but really the dangerous lightning with this. We have a light show that's associated with this on top of some very heavy rain. Other reports, I have kids in the pool. If anyone's in the pool, really outside with this storm, because the activity of this lightning, as I just mentioned, 130 lightning strikes now just here on this side of the 485 loop, just shows how strong the system is. And since the lightning bolt activity is actually growing, does show that it is strengthening across Mecklenburg County. Let me see. Yeah, somebody just said get them out of the pool just in case. So yeah, if you're anywhere near the storm, if you're hearing thunder and you're outside, that's where you're going to want to get indoors at this point. Rock Hill, South Carolina, wondering how bad. So it's not just this line as we were mentioning. We also have another cell that's in York County. This one's brought down some branches. This is a strong thunderstorm that's working its way same speed, about 15 miles per hour off towards the east. So let's put the timing on that. So if you're watching from York County, because this storm could grow similar to what we just saw. So Rock Hill, by our timing, you're looking at about 3 o'clock. So the time right now is 2:49. It's about 10 minutes away that you first have that heavy rain, and at least the leading edge of that is where the winds are going to be the worst. Let me see. Some other questions. Lightning horrible at the airport and West Boulevard. Yes. The lightning is crazy right now. Seeing a lot of negative lightning strikes. Those are the ones that usually go from cloud to cloud, cloud to ground. But we also have some of the ones that connect to the ground. So lightning strikes, we had one report that hit a tree near their house. So that's going to be a possibility. And this is a slow-moving storm, so the rain rates with this are really just off the charts as well. So let me clear things out for you. And I want to bring up the rain rates that are happening with this storm system. So rain rates right now, bringing up our tool inch per hour right around Rock Hill where it's some worse. That's about 1.5 inches per hour. The main event that we're talking about, the severe thunderstorm warning, right around Uptown, it's not just the leading edge. The leading edge is where you're going to have the strongest winds. It's going to be the rain afterwards that'll really pack a powerful punch. So some of those rain rates, 1.93, close to 2 inches. So this is showing about 1 to 2 inches per hour. It's moving at 15 miles per hour, so a solid inch of rain is going to be dropped. And we know these low-lying areas, such as Little Sugar Creek here in Uptown, that's where it's worse. And right now, the heaviest rain with this system is directly over the Charlotte area. Let's move on to winds. So as of now, we don't have a lot of evidence of any wind damage, just some downed tree branches, had that lightning strike. Looking at some of our viewers, I'm in a car near Harrisburg traveling through Concord. Let me see. Do I need to go somewhere? This is not a tornado threat, just letting you know. It's not great to drive in because, one, when you have rain rates that are exceeding an inch, just an inch, well, it's really tough to see in front of you. When you're getting them as much as 2 inches, that's a tough drive. Now, the good news behind this system, we're actually pretty much done for the day. So you're still going to see this in the area for the next half hour or so. Again, this severe thunderstorm warning goes until 3:30. But that leading edge now is starting to get into Matthews. But I think really the hardcore, the worst of the winds is just northeast of Charlotte. So let's bring up our velocity scope. Right now, not seeing anything too crazy. You're not seeing those bright yellows that are representing those wind gusts to 60, but we might be pretty close. Seeing some 29s on here, 43. That's just below severe strength, but that doesn't mean that that's not happening, because usually when we have any sort of wind damage with these systems, it's because they are sporadic. They're individual, where a quick burst of wind will drop from the cloud where your house might be fine, but maybe not your neighbors. Let me see. I'm in uptown Charlotte, and it's pouring. That was all caps, by the way, from Corey. Yeah, go inside, wait it out for about a half hour, then you have some light rain, and then by the time you get about 4 o'clock, I think most of uptown is going to be clear. Crazy wind in the university area. So we are bringing up those winds. 30 to 45 mile per hour winds. 45 mile per hour winds is still a low-end tropical storm, so I'll use that as terminology just because we'd had Elsa just move through. Let me see. Hope I don't get it. Mecklenburg County. Let me see. What direction is the storm moving? Excellent question. All right, so the storm is moving off towards the east at 15 miles per hour. It was moving at 20. This shows that this is slowing down. So since it's slowing down, that means more rain's going to be puddling up on the roads. Wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing some significant ponding. Some of those lower-lying roads are probably starting to flood at this point. So here's the general direction. I actually think it's starting to pick up speed because it's outrunning its warning, because look where the edge of the warning is. It goes to the far eastern side of Mecklenburg County. This leading edge, I'm going to bring up our distance tool. We don't have much more time to go. So this leading edge where we're seeing some of the heavy rain is only 4 miles. So this severe thunderstorm warning might be extended, but right now the winds aren't really supporting that. So it's moving off towards the east at about 15. I'm going to move this up to about 20. Just because that's what the radar is indicating right now. So some other areas that are going to be impacted by this, regardless of it being a severe thunderstorm, it's still some very heavy rain, gusty winds on top of that, which would, a 45 mile per hour gust will bring down some decent tree limbs, just depending on how solid the structure of the tree is. But it's this lightning that's behind it. So yeah, you might get the leading edge of the wind. Then you have the heavy rain, and then right over here is where you have some active lightning. And lightning can still strike up to 6 miles to 10 miles away from the storm. So I think one of the biggest reports we're going to have this is a lot of those lightning strikes. Let me see. It's bad here in Steel Creek. I'm going to extend out. I think that that's one of the things, is we haven't had a severe thunderstorm or a thunderstorm of this magnitude that took over pretty much the entire Charlotte area in quite some time. So this, even for me, when I was looking outside and driving into work, this is a big one. So here's the scope of the rain. It's covering a very large area. So the far western side of this severe thunderstorm warning, we're almost out of the woods as far as the worst of the storms, but you're still going to have some light to moderate rain that's behind that. So the total width of this storm right now, I love my distance tool to really show how far, is 23 miles across. So that means, since this is moving at 20 miles per hour, that once you get that leading edge, that it could realistically rain, even some heavy rain rates, up to an hour. And with those rain rates at about 1 to 2 inches per hour, that's also going to be some flooding potential. Starting to get dark in Pineville. So let's go to Pineville and just the southern parts. They haven't really seen all that much to really show what this storm is doing. And I'm actually first going to bring up our Nest camera in South Charlotte. So you can see we're pointing towards the west. Look at how dark this cloud cover is. So some of you not necessarily seeing this. We are seeing a few drops on the lens, but let's go back. So Pineville, some areas that haven't necessarily seen this as of yet. Well, it's about to come down, and then the lightning behind that. And I would say Pineville in the southern part of the 485 loop, I don't think you have as much as a wind threat, but you're still going to have those gusts up to about 45. So let's head down here. There you go, Pineville. You're actually in the better part of this because here's Pineville. You're still, that dark green and those yellows still is representing rain rates that are at least getting to about a quarter to a half inch per hour. But down here, if you live anywhere from Pineville, cruising along the southern part of 485, this is a little less coverage and less rain rates than what we're seeing as for the rest of the area, also in Providence, and further south you go from there, we might have to be looking at what this next cell is going to do. And I want to loop this over the last hour to show you how this is growing or how this is decreasing. Let's actually go 2 hours out because these are moving so slow. You can see here, of course it's frozen on me. All right, here it is. Notice how it wasn't anything. It grew. So this is showing that this line is still going to be growing. I would say this cell here in Rock Hill, since the rain rates look to be a little bit higher, since the lightning is starting to grow a little bit more, this could be our next warned storm. This one right here, still very active, with the highest gust that I've seen so far is about 45 miles per hour. So let's go to our NWS chat. Mecklenburg County wind damage was reported. So we had 5-inch diameter limbs that were blown down on a house that was Dilworth Road and took power out of the house. So we've already seen signs of power outages from this storm. So if you haven't yet seen it, especially on the eastern side, that's going to be a possibility. And again, Rock Hill, even though this isn't a warned, still have a chance for some of those gusty winds. And this storm did bring down some smaller tree limbs, about 2 inches in diameter. We also had a report in Cherville. That's where this storm first originated. That was at 1:45 that trees were down physically from this storm. So that's usually what we look. We look upstream to see how this storm is handling. All right, Mint Hill, thunderstorms and pouring right now. So it's starting to outrace its bounds. So this often happens. So sometimes when you have a severe thunderstorm warning, the winds within it are getting stronger. That makes the thunderstorm itself move a little bit stronger, and that's what we're seeing right now. So thanks for those storm reports, and also anyone in the chat, I'm monitoring this as well. Yeah, power out on Queens Road near CMC. So more power outages. So if you haven't lost power yet, and it's actively pouring, there's a chance for that, especially with how active the lightning is. Bad here in Matthews. And when we started this stream, Matthews, you didn't really see too much. And can you tell us what to expect in Concord? Let's do that. All right, let's head back to the storm. Bear with me. Concord, you're on the northern side of this. So if you're watching from Concord, Kannapolis, you are going to see the rain. You're not going to miss the rain. But the main core of this that's within that severe thunderstorm warning, I think you're going to avoid that. Still gusty winds, because whenever you have an outflow of any sort of storm like this, you're still going to feel the effects. A lot of lightning, but I think the worst of it is just south of you. So good question there. Still thunder here in Stanley. So Stanley is hearing thunder. That shows something. You also have this one system that's southeast of Salisbury. This is getting out of there. All of these are pretty strong, and if you zoom out, you can see that this is a general line of storms. This one right here was the first severe thunderstorm warning. We did have one that was in Lincoln County, but now all this is collapsing into this one. But the best news I have for you, yeah, it might be a rough hour or so, but once you get to that light rain behind this system, it's going to be very spotty, and then we exhausted a lot of the energy. Tornadoes possible. Excellent question. As of right now, tornadoes are not possible. We don't have the right ingredients with this. This looks to be more of a straight line event. And how can I prove that to you? Because you can see the line. So as I mentioned, since we're seeing more of a line, I think you'd still have some hail potential. I haven't seen any hail reports yet, but the winds are dominating this, and then again, the lightning. So I want to bring up our lightning count. If this went down, that's some good news. That's a good tool. When the lightning's going up, storm's getting stronger. When it starts to go down, things are getting a little bit better for us. So let's track all the lightning across the area. 73. So it was over 150 at one point. So this is starting to exhaust itself, especially with the amount of rain that's coming down. What is gust of winds mile per hour? So the gust of winds right now, let's show you the most recent update with this. The peak I was seeing before was about 45. Even though the warned storm said 60 miles per hour, I haven't seen that yet, but this is all radar indicated. That doesn't mean that something's going to slip through the cracks as far as that goes. So right now, bringing up some of our winds, 41. That's still enough to bring down some of those larger tree limbs that we were looking at. Let's see if I can bring up a different velocity scope. Here we go. This is going to give us a better look at what the storm's doing. So Mint Hill, 47 miles per hour was just estimated. This is now getting into Harrisburg territory, gusts to 49, around 50 miles per hour. Yeah, Harrisburg, it's really rocking. So I would say this area right here is where we're seeing the worst of the wind. So just south of Harrisburg, I'm gonna put a tracker on that. Give me 1 second, 20 miles per hour. So this right here is where we have the leading edge of the winds. So that means Clear Creek, if you live there, 301. So that's right now. So that's right on top of Harrisburg. You're probably seeing the dark clouds off towards the west. The winds are probably picking up for you. You're gonna have that heavy rain. There's a little bit of a notch here. I'm not concerned about that, even though that's something that we usually look out for. But Harrisburg, you're gonna see the winds, I would say, almost double in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Cabarrus at 311, Midland, that's at 315, and Georgeville at 331. And also, keep the questions coming. You can't see it now, but the view camera that we've been watching, I couldn't even see in front of it. All you saw was the raindrops physically being blown across it. Now I can actually see the building, so that does show that things have improved substantially. So I'm pretty happy about that. Let me see. So again, this warning is going to go for another 29 minutes. Thanks for joining us online. We're not going to cut into your programming. We just want to give you an update because this was a big storm to move across the Charlotte area. So here's why we're actually seeing things around Charlotte. I know it's tough to see just because you have these big lightning symbols. I'll try to take these off. There we go. All right, it's not turning off for me. That's live, at least internet television for you. But we're already seeing the back edge of this starting to lighten up a little bit. So Charlotte, I would say within the next 5 to 10 minutes, that heavy rain that you have is going to take a big step back. When we're looking at rain rates, it's really the bright reds in here that are exceeding the bounds of limitations as far as how heavy the rain is. Yeah, still seeing rain rates up to 2 inches per hour. I'm happy that at least it's accelerating a little bit, which is going to help with some of the flooding potential. What about Charlotte South Park area? I'll try not to do too many individual ones, but since you're joining me online asking questions, I'll get to as many as possible. So where are we? So as you can see for the Charlotte South Park area, we're almost done with this. Just really heavy rain. You're dealing with, I think, some of the worst lightning on the back edge of this. And note, the lightning reports are a little bit delayed, so sometimes they will be a little bit further behind than they actually are. I would say that the main event right here is now near Idlewild, closer to Harrisburg, and just right here. That you can see that that front edge is really leaving the rest of the storm behind. I need to move. All we got was a little rain and some thunder. Well, that's good. I don't know where you're from, Julie, but again, if you have any plans today, this storm is pretty much it. You might have a spotty one, not as strong, nothing like this a little bit later on. By the late afternoon, the evening, we're going to be good. By 7 o'clock, I think for the entire area, just depending where you're coming from, we're going to be clear. So that means clear of Richmond County, Chesterfield County, I think by about 7 o'clock. Let me see. Monroe, are we going to get hits? All right, so let's zoom into Monroe. Since these are all moving off towards the east, I think that northern storm that you're seeing, that's not going to get you. Maybe you're starting to see some light rain if you live on the northern side of Monroe, but it's this one down here, Rock Hill, that I think will glide across. You'll at least get some light to moderate rain, help water the lawn. And looking at the signature of Rock Hill, that did look like it had the potential for maybe turning into our next severe thunderstorm. It still could, but it's starting to break up a little bit, so that's some good news there. So it might be just rain, gusty winds. As for this one, this is also starting to break up a little bit, so I like what I'm seeing here. The winds here in Concord are picking up, pretty dark where I'm at. Yeah, regardless, if you are watching anywhere from the east, so Midlands, Albemarle, Concord, you're now starting to see that light rain transition over to some of that heavy rain. You're going to see those darker clouds. It's not going to be really motivational to go outside. Tracy, thank you. We always appreciate that. Thanks for joining us. What about the rest of us? What about the rest of us that got the storm before Little Charlotte? Well, let me know any reports that you had, because this all originated from something and it was strong already. So our first reports came from Gaston County and Lincoln County, where we did have initially a severe thunderstorm warning that was moving into northern Meck. Now this has taken its own entity, so pretty much taking the energy from all the other storms. Waxhaw, I'll go to Waxhaw for you. Again, good joining us. I'm going to have to start preparing for the main show here soon, but we'll still keep you updated. All right, Waxhaw. So you're likely going to be seeing this cell. So anyone around Monroe to Waxhaw, you'll be seeing the rain. This estimates you about 332, and that's around also when we're going to be expiring this severe thunderstorm warning as well. Any other reports that you have? You can see across the street in Mint Hill, so at least it's not that bad that you can't see across the street, but I'm sure some of you might not be able to see too much farther past there. And it's hammering in Mint Hill right now. Take cover. Yeah. Again, we always obsess about tornadoes and winds first because they cause the most damage. But this is one of those storms that has the lightning that is so vast, so much, that you also have to treat that as one of the top dangers with this storm, certainly with the amount that we had. But as I mentioned about 5 minutes ago, the lightning count is starting to come down a lot, but you still have a lot of these plus symbols. That's that single strike that comes from the sky that's usually 10 times hotter and 10 times stronger and even louder when it's moving through. And my last one is China Grove. I know that this goes until 3:30. I'm trying to see if there's any more updates for you. I, of course, love answering your questions. We do have another report, trees and power lines down at Park Road and East Boulevard. So that shows that we did have the strong enough winds that are around that 50, 60 miles per hour. So we're seeing more of this wind damage. And if you're just joining me, we also had another report about 20 minutes ago that there was 5-inch diameter tree limbs down. So that is indicating that we had at least 50 to 60 miles per hour that I think were jetting down from the cloud that did cause some of that wind damage. And there's also some trees down that was in Cherville, Gaston County, and that is from this same storm. Is this from Elsa or is this just a summer storm? This is just a summer storm. This is technically from a cold front. So we have a cold front that is just north of us, and that is causing what's called a prefrontal boundary. So sometimes storms push ahead of it, and the second round of this I think is going to be very minuscule. That's why behind here you're only seeing some very, very light pockets of rain. Some are a little bit heavier for a quick burst, but this is going to be your main event. And I want to zoom back in on 485 loop. If you're watching from Huntersville, you're almost done. You might have still some light rain that'll be left behind that, but you are starting to see the better side of this storm. Southern Union County is still ankle deep in mud, so appreciate your response. Yeah, that's also a bigger deal for Union County. We don't really want the vast of this to move through. Mecklenburg County didn't see as much rain as, say, Union County up into Stanley County, just because of what Elsa did yesterday. Again, to reiterate a question that somebody asked, this has nothing to do with Elsa. This is its own entity. Elsa is now up in New England right now. I answered this before, Rock Hill. I had a little bit of a timing here. Rock Hill, you're probably noticing that you have the rain over you directly, but this storm is unraveling. It's not as tight-knit as the severe thunderstorm warning over Mecklenburg County was. So you're going to get past this rain for about the next 30 minutes or so, and might even last a little bit longer. I would say 30 to 45 for all the rain, and then you will have a break. So that's the good news. We don't have round one of storm followed by round two a little bit later on. Well, since the comments have slowed down, one, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have full updates on WCNC starting at 4 o'clock. In the meantime, I'll be updating everything here on my Twitter and my Facebook. I appreciate it. Again, I'm meteorologist Chris Mulcahy. Thanks.